Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Michał and here's another video from the world of Formula 1. So when I was editing this video, the news came out that Yuki Tsunoda is actually replacing Liam Lawson for the Japanese Grand Prix. However, I hope you'll still watch it because I think it's actually a good thing for Liam Lawson. And that's what this video is about. So probably the biggest topic in Formula 1 currently is the future of Red Bull's Liam Lawson. You've probably heard a lot about his future already, but I wanted to record this video to give slightly different perspective to what I've seen already. Liam Lawson was obviously chosen over Yuki Tsunoda to take over second Red Bull seat, but the first two racing weekends of 2025 were not the best for him. The team's management was planning for their second car to finally start scoring consistently during Grand Prix. However, so far obviously that has not been the case. Liam Lawson qualified 18th in Australia and in China for both sprint and the race he was last. But for both weekends the results were not great, and if he finished, he was still finishing far away from the points, even with 3 disqualifications after the Chinese Grand Prix. And everyone is now thinking if he's gonna race for them in Japan, which is in a week and a half. Red Bull is obviously known for replacing their drivers mid-season for both their main team and for their junior team, which this season is not even looking as a junior team, but more like an equal team with a bad strategy. And obviously Yuki Tsunoda, who was looked over for the second Red Bull seat, is racing there, and his performance this season is looking very promising. If not for the strategy or technical issues, he would definitely score some major points. But even with all this bad luck, his prospects for this season look much more promising. During the pre-season testing, when Red Bull Racing was comparing both drivers, the differences between both Tsunoda and Lawson were not that significant, with Lawson having more potential in the eyes of the team's leadership. Thus, he was decided to be the driver for the main team. But Yuki Tsunoda is still saying that he's always ready to replace him, and that's one of the main gossip around this topic. The question is if Tsunoda will replace Lawson before or after Japanese Grand Prix. Obviously that race is one that should tell a lot about Liam Lawson's ability to drive Red Bull racing car, as he has a lot of experience on Suzuka track due to his previous experience in Super Formula, which races there a lot. But there's speculation that Red Bull might not want to wait even for that and put someone else in their second seat for the third Grand Prix of the season. That theory makes some sense because starting in Japan, there will be 3 weeks in a row with a race, so there would be much less time for another driver to get acclimatized, and if they do it now, they will have 1 extra week for the simulator or some fittings maybe. So that's what's making that theory more probable, but there are even wilder theories in the media concerning Liam Lawson. One is that he might be completely out of the Formula 1 car, not even switching to Racing Bulls. And this is based on Helmut Marko being seen in Alpine's facilities in the paddock, and of course that is connected to one and only Franco Colapinto, who Red Bull was considering for one of their seats, probably more in the junior team, but then they would have to pay for him, so they decided to put someone from their own drivers academy in the person of Isaac Hadjar in Racing Bulls. Okay, so I looked on Twitter for the gossip about that, and the Southern American fans are supposedly tweeting that this move was blocked, so hopefully Liam Lawson is not completely out of F1 after just 2 races, but there is still a chance that he will be replaced, and the chance is very high. Some say that there's a chance even Isaac Hadjar might get his chance in Red Bull, but that's too crazy even for them. Obviously the situation is hard both for the driver and for the team. The Red Bull brand is suffering because they are getting to be known for ruining young drivers' careers, and Liam Lawson is experiencing basically what Sergio Perez was experiencing in the last season. So if Yuki Tsunoda moved to Red Bull Racing, he might be in the same situation. and that in turn might ruin his future in F1. Because of course Max is an outlier and he squeezes out of that car much more. Of course people are speculating that the car is made just for him, but the other drivers spoke about it and claiming that it's not the case. One example would be Alex Albon on High Performance podcast. However, if the third driver in a row would have similar issues than the two previous ones, it would demonstrate more clearly that there's something wrong within how this car is being set up by the team. So the issue with the car seems to be that it's very reactive and has a very narrow working window. So both Lawson and Perez had issues to gain enough confidence to push the car to its limit, because even the smallest mistake would lead for it to leave the track and crash potentially. So I bet the drivers cannot force themselves to push the limit. But what I wanted to talk about is that if Liam is actually replaced right now, it might be much better for him at the end. Usually Red Bull would wait until mid-season, and obviously that would look very bad, like if he is replaced because he's last all the time, or very close to being last, while his teammate is scoring points or even podiums. But then if he's put into Racing Bulls in a different team and a different car, and he regains his confidence in a team that he actually knows and outscores his teammate, he'll save his future in F1, or at least would have better chances. Because F1 drivers are very competitive people, and the results Liam Lawson is getting, it might be like shattering for his confidence, and more races like that will definitely do that. So of course this would be brutal if he was replaced for Japanese Grand Prix, but if he proved himself, and of course if Yuki Tsunoda or whoever takes that second seat would perform in the same manner as Liam Lawson or very similar to him, that might save his career. But that's then brutal towards the second driver, if that seat is still cursed when that person takes it. Obviously Yuki is claiming that he wants that seat, but at the moment it looks like a big risk for him. Especially that he will no longer have Honda backing in Red Bull, as they moved out to Aston Martin. So if he shares Liam Lawson's fate, he might end his own career with that. There are a lot of seats taken already for the next seasons, and Red Bull is not known for working on their second driver for a long time. They surprisingly tried that with Perez, but that was the first. I mean, of course there's always a chance for Yuki to fly in Red Bull, but it is very hard to compare with Max, because Max is such an outlier that it is obvious that that car is nowhere near that pace for any other driver basically. Especially that Yuki, Tsunoda and Liam Lawson were supposedly very close with the pace during their tests. So looking at that, like trying to be objective, my thought is that whoever stays with Racing Bulls wins, because there they will have the other car and less pressure to compete. Obviously they want to score points and they seem to be in a car that is capable of that, but the strategy fails so far, both in Australia and in China. But now they have a clear message, so they should improve that. Because of that, staying with Racing Bulls is definitely a safer choice. Obviously, if Yuki also fails there would be potentially two drivers being ruined in one season by Red Bull Racing. And that's just like, it's so hard to see, because obviously last couple of years, and especially with all the attention, it was shown quite brutally how hard it is to get to F1. And if you look for young drivers who are not from wealthy families or don't have big sponsors, it is so hard to even survive younger categories if they are not picked up, for example, by Drivers Academy. But even then, just to get top spots in junior categories relatively fast and then land a seat in Formula 1 is an insane achievement. So to see drivers who worked for that for a long time, it's just heartbreaking. So that's why I think that both of them should have chances to prove themselves. There might be slight hope for them with new team joining the grid next season, so 2 more seats opening up. But yeah, it's disappointing to see how Red Bull Racing is treating their drivers, basically. Because what happened to Albon before and Gasly, it was really brutal, and yeah, Sergio Perez basically raced himself out of F1 in Red Bull last season, and he's a different example even, because he had experience, he raced in different teams before, and even in Red Bull he scored. So the loss of the pace was insane. Like, if you even look to the times he was called Minister of the Defense after he helped Max Verstappen score his championship once, sacrificing his race basically to hold Lewis Hamilton as long as possible. And the other drivers were rookies or had little to no experience in F1 before they were promoted, but still more than Lawson had, and they struggled to succeed. Like, what happened to Pierre Gasly especially, it's so harsh. I'm so happy that he was able to score those podiums and a win, to be able to go then to somewhere else and still race. But definitely I hope that this situation is a wake-up call to the Red Bull higher-ups, and they will change something, because it seems that they definitely lost their edge with young drivers. It seems that they are desperately looking for another Max Verstappen and seem not to be able to agree on anyone else. But then with that mentality they lose Constructors' Championship if the car is not a class faster than the competition. So let me know what you think about this situation, and what do you think will happen? Write down in the comments, and if you liked this video, please subscribe for more. Thank you very much for watching, that was fast, see you in the next one.